Welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, where it's all about helping your veterinary practice attract, engage, and retain clients. Broadcasting a new podcast every Monday from sunny Southern California, here's your host, Brandon Bashirs.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode number 166 of the Veterinary Marketing Podcast. Hope you're having a fantastic day. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about loyalty in your veterinary practice. And I think this is seriously one of the most important things you can do to protect your practice from recession, to keep discounts from destroying your practice too. And I know how competitive it is out there because I'm working with lots of practices, running their ads, seeing what's going on, and it is competitive. If you are in a busy area and you're trying to keep clients, you don't want to lose them, and you're afraid of losing them, this is going to be a great episode for you today. So before we begin, I want to mention a few things. First, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe in iTunes or Google Play or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. If you could do me a huge favor, please leave me an honest review. I would really appreciate it. And if there's anything that you need help with, the best place to get help is in the Veterinary Marketing Nerds Facebook group. If you go to facebook.com/groups/the Veterinary Marketing Nerds, you can get collaboration, you can answer questions, you can get any kind of help that you need inside of that group. So be sure to head on over there. It's free to join. Just go to facebook.com/groups/the Veterinary Marketing Nerds. All right, let's talk about loyalty. In today's episode, we have Brian MaCrae. He's the founder of Rethink Veterinary Solutions. And I've been working with Brian actually for about 7 years. We started, and this is actually how I got into the veterinary industry, was in helping him get the word out about software that he uses to create loyalty for your veterinary practice. And I think that they're doing some really, really cool things. This is, I think, a very good episode. It's very practical in terms of what you need to be thinking about when you're creating a loyalty program. Are all loyalty programs created equal? And really, what are the most important things to consider when you're trying to help your clients make sure that they stay committed and loyal to your veterinary practice? So without further ado, here is the interview with Brian MaCrae from Rethink Veterinary Solutions. All right, on this week's episode, we have Brian MaCrae from Rethink Veterinary Solutions. And welcome, Brian, to the podcast. Thanks for being on this week. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on, Brandon. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. So Brian and I go back way back. Brian is actually who brought me into the veterinary industry, so that is really cool. Give us a quick rundown, Brian, of how you got into the industry, and we're going to talk specifically about loyalty because that's what you guys do amazingly well, and we're going to get into some really great specifics and numbers. It's going to be a fantastic episode. But how did you get started in the industry?
Yeah, it was just a late night dinner conversation with my mother-in-law, who happens to be a CVPM in Southern California. And she was frustrated, and this was late 2012, and just didn't know what to do, came back from a wellness plan meeting. She was overwhelmed. And I kind of just asked her some questions. She told me about the model, and I just said, I don't think that's going to work, and it's from a lot of different levels. And it turned out to not really work. The company didn't launch half the practices they signed on board. But what I did convince her of is saying, hey, why don't we just try a more simple approach to membership, something that has a high participation rate, models we've proven in other industries, and let's just apply it to the veterinary industry. And luckily and surprisingly, she actually talked to her doctor and met with him, and he just said, yeah, let's give it a shot. Got nothing to lose. It seems to make sense. Let's just try it in this practice, and if it works, we'll do it in the next one. So that was it. That was the first program we launched. We designed a simple membership, included a couple exams, implemented cashback rewards, got rid of their senior and some discounts that they had, were ongoing discounts, kind of replaced those with a reward-based currency. And it worked really well. I think they had 300 members sign up in the first month, which was just a great sign for all of us. And he said, let's open in the next practice. And next thing you know, Peter Weinstein asked if we can speak at a consulting group that he had in Southern California. And I think that was it. Started taking off from there. And now we're, all across the country. I have a couple practices in Australia and other countries as well. So it's been a fun, and it just seems like time has flown by, but it's been a fun, 7-year run now.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been 7 years now. It's amazing. The economy was very different 7 years ago. We were just starting recovery. People were still weary of the recession, and things have changed a lot, especially in marketing. Veterinary practices are getting more sophisticated, but I think there's just a different set of problems that I think practices are facing now. And I think this is probably just going to continue as the economy cycles through different things. We can't have a recovery economy forever. At some point, it will go down. But right now, people are very busy. So let's talk about a few things first, though. I think you made some great kind of points there that we should dive into. So first of all, you talked about membership. And membership, we were talking about, hey, this is a loyalty program. But how, in your opinion, does membership produce loyalty, and what is your take on that versus, probably if people are thinking of a traditional loyalty program, they're thinking of maybe Starbucks, or maybe they're thinking of, Starbucks is what comes to mind with me the most. And then I probably think of hokey punch cards that are like, the Circle K coffee punch card. You get 5 holes in it and then you get a free one, right? And those are definitely two vast differences in the spectrum of loyalty programs. But can you tell me what loyalty is to Rethink Veterinary Solutions? And if you visit rethinkvetsolutions.com, for example, you say we've helped practices like yours generate 30 million in new revenue, which is amazing, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about membership and why it is the superior form of loyalty.
Yeah, great question. And yeah, off the bat, just by definition, I think it's generally accepted that if you become a member of something, that is it's an increased level of mental commitment, emotional commitment to a business. If you're just signing up with a fake email address and getting free stuff, great, may work, may get you back, may not, depending on how much you like whatever it is you're doing. But to me, membership is just an invitation with a definition of a deeper engagement. You're inviting people into a deeper commitment to your business or your veterinary practice. And that alone is a big deal. And the whole purpose of membership is to increase increase the spending, have them come in more often. And when you're getting people to actually pay you for a membership, that's a whole nother deal, And so now you've really taken several leaps of from a fee for service type of relationship to, I'm a committed member, I'm paying for the membership, and wrapped into that membership is I'm actually paying you in advance for services. So they're guaranteeing you future loyalty. That doesn't usually happen with a flowery, I would just call it a weak loyalty program design. So it's just a stronger level to do it. And customers are kind of used to it. They're doing this with other brands. They have Amazon Prime, you've got Costco. You've got a lot of businesses that have established membership as a very valuable thing. And then you also have companies that have established just general loyalty programs as maybe a valuable thing. So we're just in that top tier helping veterinary practices, bring this at a really professional level, but at a really simple level as well, so that the front desk and everybody can do it, easily and have the kind of results and commitments and, what we're striving for with their clients, to their practices. Definitely.
I completely forgot about Amazon Prime as a membership model. I think I did because it just is like, so I don't know anybody who doesn't have an Amazon Prime membership now. And it used to be, it was like a big deal when they started that. So yeah, Costco and Amazon, those are companies that have tremendous following and loyalty built into them. So I think that this kind of a concept is not foreign by any means to clients.
And what is the number one source of revenue for Costco? Well, what do you think it is?
I'm sure it's membership.
It's membership, right? Yeah, it is. It's that's what defines their company, really separates them from everything else. They don't even have to make as much on their margins per item because of the amount of membership revenue to just get you in the building. And then they've got a reward that's specifically tied to it. And they give you a virtual currency at the end of the year, just called a check, but it's a check that's only good at Costco. So they find ways to kind of reward you, keep you in the loop, and monetize that membership as well.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And when I'm thinking about it too, like I have that executive membership and I have the check, and I've had that check for 6 months and I have forgotten to bring it in every time I go. So I don't know how long it's good for, but
Yep.
there's so many benefits, I'm sure, to them for doing that specifically. But
I don't know. I think they're just another company that just didn't use technology yet. So it could be on an app, you should be able to redeem it at point of sale. But as a tip from me, when I get that check, I just throw it in my car. So at least if I'm there and I forgot it, I can go to my car and get it if you don't want that thing to expire.
Totally. Yeah. Well, it might be expired, so I'll have to check for sure.
Okay.
Anyways, so I think that there are some great kind of things to think about here. So if you're creating a loyalty program that has membership in it, what are some of the key components that you see as being important for keeping these clients on that you might not think that work? What are the key components that are going to really make it work in terms of what you should offer and why you should offer that?
Yep. Yeah, no problem. So the first component is it has to be super simple, and the client needs to be able to make a buying decision with about 30 to 60 seconds of information. And so that's where wellness plans fail. They're too complicated. They cover certain things. They don't cover certain things. And so you have to have a high conversion. So the first thing is high conversion, really simple. An example of that's worked really well. We have several templates depending on that type of practice and what they're doing. But one example would be, 2 or 3 exams included in that membership, along with cashback rewards, which is virtual currency, rewards that are only usable at that practice for future services. And that is different than just giving discounts or, things like that. And so virtual currency we can talk about separately, but the implementation of virtual currency is absolutely essential and makes practices so much money once they realize the math of it as well. But just cashback rewards, simple design, and easy, low price point, under $100 for the membership in that first year. What we found is you can add things to the membership, you can raise the prices, you can even raise the prices on your general product across the board in a year or two once you really establish a really strong amount of conversion, a good user base at your practice. So, we're shooting for anywhere on the low end of 30% of your clients to join. And on the high end, we have many practices that are up to 80% of their client base are members of their practice.
It's amazing. And that makes a lot of sense too. When Amazon came out with their Prime, they started at $79 and they did a price increase of $119. So that was a big jump, and I don't think they saw any decrease. I'm sure they saw a little bit, but just that makes a lot of sense for sure. Well, let's talk about something. We're going to jump into virtual currency, why that's important, what prepaying does in the minds of the clients. But I think that I see, probably a lot of practices that are just overwhelmed with just the amount of client volume they have right now, the lack of doctors to basically service these clients. I think that there's like 2 kinds of practices, either super, super busy or they're just dying, and there's like no in between happy medium of like, we're perfectly happy. We have the right amount of volume. Right. So I think this actually works really, really well for both options, but people that are suffering from overworked vets, and let's say you're booked out 3 weeks, and they would say, let's not do a loyalty program because we already have the client base and, we're good. We don't need any more compliance. We're already too busy. And I don't know if they would say more compliance, but they would say, we don't need more, everything's going great. Why should we use a loyalty program? And I think that's probably the case for a lot of practices, but I think it's really short-sighted. But I'd like to hear your answer as to why that's short-sighted.
Well, a couple things. Number one, how profitable is the practice and what's happening? I mean, one of the key problems we are seeing is just employee loyalty in general, which is another big problem. But how can how can you make employees more loyal? I mean, pay them more money, have the practice make more money. And so if you can have the employees and staff up, then you're going to be able to handle more business and your company's going to make more money. So I mean, if you want to make more money, there really needs to be a plan to be able to handle more clients to where you're at capacity, not just your capacity being 60% what it is because the team isn't big enough or we can't keep key employees. So if you can make more money, you can pay your key employees more money, and that's going to free you up to do really help the practice be all it can be. I think the other side of that is the danger of sitting in that and saying, well, we don't need any more because we can't handle it right now. That is a very short-sighted way to look at it. And what are you going to do if people stop coming? Because the data is already coming out from the VHMA that, new clients coming into practices is dipping. It's dipping strongly, for a couple of years. So if you lose some of the clients you have and they start going somewhere else, or there is a major downturn or a recession, then what's going to happen? Now, you're going to struggle to keep employees, and you're going to be making less money to keep the ones that you have that you're barely keeping. So I just think you have to do something to be more of a profitable practice and run your business according to sound math and principles, to people that come in more often, spend more money, and give them the best chance to stay with your practice long term, because competition is going to increase and it's not going to be as easy as it is right now all the time. We're in the good times right now. It's not like when we first started, but you need to do things right when it's good so that you're setting yourself up when it gets bad, because we all know that's just eventually going to happen, and it's who's going to be ready for that or who's not.
Absolutely. And I think too, if you're super busy and you're booked out for weeks and weeks, and you have your good clients and they need something, they need to go on vacation, or they need to go, get up to date on something, and you're booked out 3 weeks, what's going to keep them from going down the street? Or if they do go try out somebody new because they need something last minute and you're not available, then you're going to have the potential to, get somebody that's going to win over a client. And that would be terrible. So those kind of things start happening and it starts slipping. It starts to pile up. It's like the old saying of, make hay while the sun is shining. You got to retain those clients when it's the good times, because that's the time to bind them to your clients, so that when the times where you don't have the luxury of being super busy, or if the economy starts to slow down, you're not in a spot where you start to scramble and say, okay, what do we do now? Because it's not working well. So, you definitely can't be reactive. And I bet you some of the largest, most well-funded competitors of veterinary practices are probably actually looking at that as the opportunity, where a lot of the people who are maybe just going somewhere by default, and now all of a sudden the economy drops, and they're like, well, now people really start to look at the line items for the pricing on everything. And then they've got the trap for that. They'll get somebody in on price or whatever it is. And it's going to be easier to lose people. And if you're going to try to have a war on price, that's a war an individual or independently owned practice is not really going to want to have with some of these other companies. So I think I don't know if I'm just saying the same thing again, but I think that's the realistic outlook that's why action needs to be taken right now. Even Absolutely. Though it may not feel like it is, it should. But it's a recession prevention type of service is really what it is. Definitely. So why do you think it is better to do rewards versus discounts? And why do you think it's better to pre-sell those services in general versus, just doing a discount that's easy to administer, right? A 10%, like let's say it's a 10% veteran discount. Which we know practice that had that, right? And then they stopped doing that and switched it with rewards.
Yep. So let's stick with the first part on why rewards over discounts. So understanding virtual currency is an absolute must. And there's very, very few practices that understand this until they really see it. So the industry is trained to kind of give financial value. A lot of times it's, well, we discount these few key things because it does this. And I think the stats now are the average doctor, Andy Rourke said that, you told me that I think the average doctor is discounting $60,000 a year in services away. So that's just slightly.
Yeah, 60,000 per doctor is the figure that I've been told.
Yeah, 60,000 per doctor. I mean, if you cut that in half, whatever it is, we're talking enormous amounts of money, depending on how large the practice is, right?
And it's stuff that's just either not ending up on the invoice or it's being discounted heavily.
Right. And so discounting it just by definition is to drop, loss, fall, to depreciate. I mean, is that really the best way we want to handle price? On the other side of the argument, you have practices that say, oh, we're not going to discount anything and we're just going to be the value leader. That's fine too. But, the American thinking is everybody, no matter who they are and how much money you make, people like to know that they're getting value. You have to have that emotional sense of I'm getting value for something. Some of the most wealthy people I know want value more than the people that should need the value. because that's how they think. And so you have to address that in a way that is common to culture. And right now, rewards and membership and things like that is common. That's how they see things. So earning a reward for paying full price is going to be a much better model, and charging full price and setting full price of the standard is a better model, moving forward and building your practice than just discounting and doing that, because now you're just doing what the other companies can do and they can take you out. Now, if we want to look at the math of it, which the math doesn't lie, when we had a practice in San Diego that 10% of their clients were, I think 50% of their client base were all military area. It's an area in Chula Vista down here in San Diego, closer.
Yeah, big Navy town.
Yeah, big Navy town. So that's a big thing. I think the doctor was even in the Navy. So it's just, that's a part of their culture. Some practices have more seniors, so it's a senior discount or whatever it is. But in this case, this simple math point was enough for them to say, look, let's get rid of it all. I said, if you discount on $1 million of revenue and it's 10% off for military people, you're collecting $90,000, and that that $100,000, you're collecting $900,000. Sorry, that $100,000 in discounts that you've given is not doing anything to get people back to you. And anybody can open a practice next door technically and compete with you and just offer those same prices to military as well, right? And so it's not working for you to really get them back in, and it's not really boosting the value of what you do. It does make that group and those military people feel like they're getting something special. But what about this? What if we can take away the 10% discount and say, we're not just taking it away, we're going to give you a 10% reward instead. And so to the client, that still feels the same. Oh, okay, well, I'm not getting a 10% discount anymore, but we're going to give you a reward instead. And I told that practice, I said, well, what if somebody's coming in today and they're going to be upset that, they were expecting a 10% off on their $300 dental service. And I said 30. So it cost them $30. You were going to give them $30 for their next visit. I said, what if we just made them all happy and we just gave them $20 in virtual currency? So we just gave them $20 in cash that's usable only at your practice, only towards services that they can use whenever they want. It's on their membership, and we're going to give you a 10% cash back going forward from now on of, reward dollars that are usable at the practice. So that's what they did. Now 6 years later, they have almost 5,000 members, record profits. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but they are probably one of the strongest practices in Southern California and the least susceptible to any big competitors moving into their market. You have that many clients, and everybody has balances and rewards, and they're buying memberships as well that include exams and nail trims. You've virtually disempowered every type of marketing that a competitor practice is going to use as a lure to get clients to go somewhere else, because they just see it. And this, they've raised their membership fees over the years. They've raised their prices. The owner even said one time they lost a doctor, and they thought for sure it was going to impact the practice a lot more negatively than it did. And from the owner, she just said, I can't think of anything else other than the reward programs, as people have their rewards here and they just didn't want to leave that, whatever it was, their $50 balance and their exam they paid for already. They didn't want to just follow this doctor to this other practice. So it's really hard to really give an exact number on what that's worth to that practice, but I can tell you that that exchange of getting rid of discounts and moving over to a rewards currency, now the rewards are always being loaded, so they have to come in to use it. And the math is, on the first year, you get rid of the discounts, you're going to give out the rewards, and you're only going to see a 30% redemption of those rewards in that first year. So immediately you have a 70% increase in profitability that first year. That's a huge profit increase on a whole batch of customers that you were discounting with before. By year two and three and then on, we're seeing a maximum redemption rate of about 70%. So, and that's really kind of right where you want it to be, because number one, there's people that leave, pets die, things like that happen, they move. But you also have people that just save rewards. There's people, if you're a saver in real life, you probably save rewards. That's the best thing a practice could have. Well, I just spent $500 or $600 on my pet for the year, and I have $40, $80 in rewards. And we just train the practices to ask them when they're checking out, do you want to use your rewards, or would you like to save those? And a lot of the time they save them. Well, that's great. You're just building that financial value with them. It's a big hook to get them back. And see, so rewards are really always working for you. Discounting is setting you up to fight a battle you're going to lose eventually. That's what I think.
Absolutely. So that, I think, is some really, really important things to consider. And so when you're talking about virtual currency specifically, because I think that there's a lot more in terms of virtual currency going out there, it's just reward balance only that is only able to be redeemed at your veterinary practice. And
Yes.
it's not like it's a cryptocurrency that you're exchanging money for or something like that. Because I think that might be the only thing people might wonder about. And I doubt actually that many veterinary professionals are thinking about that. But I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah,
but,
I guess I can better definition of that. Just think of, Vegas chips. They give you chips. It's real money usable in that casino only, but they decide what it's used towards, and it's just controlled by that business.
Yep, absolutely. So let's talk about administration of this, because I think it can seem daunting, right? How do you administer a loyalty program that 80% of your client base signs up for and administers? How does that look, and what does that look like? Or is there a better way for people to see, maybe give an overview and show people where to go to see more?
Yeah, perfect. That's where we've had a big evolution. Originally, it was a web-based terminal where practices would sign members up and keep track of their rewards and their membership in our software. And now it's just an app. I mean, is that what you're asking? Like what the point?
Absolutely. How is it administered in practice, and what is that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, and so we work with the practice. We design their membership, and we show them how to give that 60-second presentation to convert their clients. And we usually have 1 or 2 different membership types to launch, depending on our interviews with that practice and what we feel is going to be best to set up their front desk for success. But we've got a free model, we've got a paid version, and we create it all. We create it in the app, and then we create one piece of marketing collateral for them. And basically, we teach the whole practice. We do a launch. We get everybody on board, and we show them basically everybody that's checking out is like, do you know about our membership? Are you a member yet? Are you a VIP rewards member yet? Are you a pet care rewards member yet? And so we show them how to ask that question, and then people say, no, what is that? And then you kind of explain it in a way that a client's just like, well, how could I say no to that? There's no way I can say no to that. And it's like, okay, great. Let me show you how to do this, And then it's a quick download of an app. The client joins, they put in their credit card, they buy the membership, and now they have access to that practice. And now they've got their membership. They've got other things that the practice can sell in there. It's all digital. It's all automated. The membership fees now are going to come out automatically and pay the practice directly. So it's all over a very simple mobile app. And the practice doesn't have to do anything with today's technology to administer the program other than set up some codes in their practice software. So we show them how to set up a few redemption codes that tie into that connect to what is tied in the membership. But the client comes in with the phone, they show their membership, they can actually do the entire process with the mobile phone. We've made it really easy. We've had a business call us in the morning and launch and sell 5 memberships by that evening. So that's how fast it is and how easy it is to just implement into your practice.
Very cool. So I think that in general, for most practices, if you want to have clients that won't be swayed by either doctors leaving or, basically anything, if you want to keep your current clients stuck to your practice, this is probably, I think, the best solution for that in general. So how do people find out about you? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, best way would be just go to rethinkvetsolutions.com, and you can have an appointment booking button there, or I can maybe give you a link you can put in the show notes where they can just click on the calendar right there and book a 30-minute appointment with us where we can review what your goals are with your practice and see if it's a great fit. You can also go to the website and watch the full webinar. There's also an appointment booking link there. You can book it. Let's set up 30 minutes aside to really go through this. And if you can, have your key people, decision makers in the practice, on that call. And we'll show you how to do membership at the highest level in the veterinary industry.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Brian. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Brandon. Look forward to next time.
So I hope that this was helpful. If you want more information about Rethink Veterinary Solutions, you should 100% head on over to rethinkvetsolutions.com, and they have some pretty cool pricing options. If you say that you heard about them from the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, you can sign up for free with no startup and design costs. That's going to be limited, by the way, to probably, I think, the first 10 people. So if you're considering it, you should head on over to there. If you're listening to this in the future, you should still tell them you heard about it from the Veterinary Marketing Podcast. I'll make sure they give you a great deal to get started. But if you're thinking about loyalty for your veterinary practice, and I think that you should be sure to head on over, get a demo, see what it looks like in your practice, and let them know if you have any questions at all. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on next week's episode. Have a good one, everybody.